The Arizona Coyotes have submitted a bid to build a new NHL arena in Tempe, Arizona. Today we're going to discuss what this process is going to look like. When might we know further information if this is going to be accepted and move forward? And what are their options in the interim for staying in Arizona, or do they temporarily at least need to relocate? We'll examine the situation coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I said, we have some pretty big news from the Arizona Coyotes organization, as reported by Coyotes insider Craig Morgan on Twitter last night. We have confirmation that the Coyotes have indeed submitted a bid to build a new arena in Tempe, Arizona. Now, we all knew that they were exploring this possibility and that there was a deadline approaching, which I believe was September the 2nd, in order to get their bid in. So, of course, we saw this information posted on Twitter from Craig Morgan confirming that this has indeed taken place. And then we got a statement from the Coyotes themselves confirming this as well. I'll show you the statement here from the Coyotes organization. It says, "We are pleased to have submitted a proposal to the city of Tempe. As regulations surrounding the RFP process dictate, we cannot comment any further at this time, but we remain incredibly excited about this extraordinary opportunity." So clearly we know that the current arena situation is not sustainable beyond the current season for the Coyotes. Their agreement with Gila River Arena is expiring based on the arena. They are not extending the lease because they've been going year to year, and they are essentially have already told them that they're done. They want to move on. They feel it's in the city of Glendale's best interest and the arena's best interest to basically not have them there. They feel like they can replace the revenue generated off the Coyote games with other types of events that they can hold at that arena. So the Coyotes are in a pretty much an awkward predicament here that they don't have a confirmed home or place to play for next year. Now, of course, we all know that you can't build a new arena that quickly. These projects take quite some time. And I want to review what this bid process is going to look like so you have an idea when we might know more, how long of a process is it going to take. Then, of course, the actual construction phase, assuming everything is successful, is going to take an extended time. I mean, these arenas take, anywhere from like 18 to 36 months, depending on how extensive they are. 24 months probably being like your average. So at the very least, they need to figure out a new home, at the very least on a temporary basis. So we'll talk about that here shortly as well. But first up, I do want to confirm some more information on this process in this bid. We also got confirmation from the city of Tempe and from Craig Morgan as well, confirming that the city of Tempe only received one bid. So that means that the Coyotes are not in any kind of competition, which is not really a huge shocker with any other sports franchises, because they're pretty well, the only ones in the state that I'm familiar with, at least, that are, kind of in this predicament looking to build a new arena. So the good news for them is they don't have competition, but this does not mean that it's a guarantee that they're going to have the bid be accepted, because everything still has to be reviewed, analyzed thoroughly. The city of Tempe still obviously has to, ensure that they feel a level of confidence in how this is going to go, and then it's going to be, beneficial and profitable for all parties included. Now, I'm going to go through some information here from the city of Tempe website. They released some information on this process just to give you a better understanding of how it's all going to work. I will throw some screenshots here up on the screen as I kind of read through a little bit of this information, but this statement was issued at 4:30 p.m. local time on September 2nd, 2021 from the city of Tempe. It says that one submittal was received by the city in response to its request for the RFP issued in July for a mixed-use project incorporating a professional sports franchise and entertainment district for two parcels of city-owned land totaling 46 acres at the northeast corner of Priest Drive and Rio Salado Parkway. The deadline was today at 3 p.m. According to the statement procurement law, only names of entities responding to an RFP can be revealed at the time the RFP closes. The name in this instance is Bluebird Development, LLC. While the submittal is evaluated, the city engages in intensive due diligence. Tempe representatives cannot discuss the matter. So, of course, the Coyotes also put out a statement saying that they've, obviously, like I mentioned here, that they've submitted their bid, but they also cannot publicly comment any further on this situation. So we're not going to hear anything more until the city is ready to unveil how things are going. So next steps. So the city of Tempe anticipates the next steps as the evaluation process will take many months. It will include extensive examinations as well as opportunities for community feedback. These next steps will happen in a sequence. First up, a rigorous confidential evaluation process will be undertaken by a multidisciplinary internal team of city staff members. It's expected to take several months. No precise time period has been set. And we've seen this before with other cities in NHL franchises looking for new arenas and kind of going through the negotiation process. It is not a fast process. It involves a lot of money, impacts taxpayers, and has a big impact on the community. And it's a huge financial and economic impact to the area. So obviously they want to make sure they get things right and proceed here with a good scenario. So it's not going to be a fast process. It says here that staff members are going to be allowed following a preset of evaluation criteria established at the time of the RFP was issued. Evaluation is going to include projected economic impacts, job creation, public benefits, neighborhood considerations, traffic, etc. Like I said, there's no estimated time period, and due to the complexity of the evaluations, the city is likely going to hire a third-party consultant company to assist with aspects of that evaluation. So that, of course, is also going to be another process. I'm not sure if they've got anything lined up for who they're going to deal with, but again, that's another piece of the puzzle here. Not a surprise at all. It's going to take some time. Secondly, it says at the end of the evaluation process, if the city staff determine that negotiation with a proposer is warranted, so if they like the bid and they feel it makes sense to proceed, it will make a recommendation to City Council to start the discussion. So I want everybody to make sure you understand this is only a bid to earn the right to negotiate. So this process itself is going to take several months, an extended period of time, but it by no means does it make it a slam dunk that even if the bid is accepted, that it's still going to work out. There's still more to come here, and it's still a process that has to go through. And like I said, it's really just the ability to continue negotiating. So it's still an important piece, yes, but far from the end in cementing the fact that the team will have a new arena. Now, of course, part of the second step as well is that City Council will make a recommendation to start the discussions if they feel it's warranted. And then they also have the authority to accept or reject a recommendation through one or more public meetings. So once the evaluation period is done, they're going to have those next steps to see if they're going to proceed. Step 3, if the council agrees to enter an exclusive negotiating with the proposer, that would begin a new process that will take several more months. This would involve direct negotiations between city staff and the developer. Negotiations would be then aimed at determining whether it's possible for parties to agree on a development and disposition agreement, a DDA, which is a legal document that formalizes the entire relationship after the council votes to accept a party to negotiate with. The original RFP submittal becomes accessible as public record, excluding any confidential information that must be withheld. So obviously, as I mentioned, it's a long process. So we're going to look at several months of reviewing this bid. And then if everything goes well, we're looking at several more months of negotiations between the developer and the city. So it's far from over. I mean, this is like I said, the good news is they're not competing with any other developers. They're not competing with any other franchises. So essentially, if everything looks well from a economic standpoint, and all parties are involved, that confident that they can make a go of this and be successful, then it could very well proceed. But as I mentioned, you're probably looking at, I'm going to say, anywhere from 6 to 12 months before you even have all that done. And by that point, their lease at Gila River Arena is going to be expired, and they're not going to have a place to play. So what happens next? I mean, I've seen some say, well, if they know what's going on with the new arena, and once they get to that point, especially if they can make that happen with enough time to spare, could they not work out some kind of a short-term extension to stay where they are for maybe 1 to 2 more seasons to make a go of it while the new arena is being built? And I will stress that is possible. It would make sense for them to explore that idea, but you got to remember, does it make sense on the arena side and for the city of Glendale to really entertain that? At the end of the day here, you're going to have a brand new facility being built in the not too distant, far away, that's going to become a major competitor for them. Without the Coyotes being there, they're going to rely even more so on other events in the arena to obviously generate revenue and be good for the area. So you're looking at concerts and all other types of events. So you're not going to have a brand new facility that might even be better located for a lot of the state's residents to attend to for direct competition. So, in a sense, they're kind of helping their competitors at this point. So I'm not really sure that they would entertain that. And from that perspective, I mean, maybe, but it's far from a guarantee. Like I said, I'm not convinced that it really makes a ton of sense. So then what happens next, right? They need a place to play, even if this is successful, which is going to be a long haul. And if this bid is not successful, in my opinion, it will likely mark the end of hockey in Arizona, and they will have no choice but to relocate elsewhere, because I think this is probably their best solution and their last-ditch effort to getting a new permanent location here to kind of make things work and make hockey in Arizona sustainable. I do think if they can get this arena situation worked out in Tempe, it is by far their best chance at survival and making a go of this. But I guess I do have still some concerns that this is going to work out, just given how everything has gone really for the bulk of the time that they've been there. They've really struggled with attendance, and I know all those issues for the locals, I say, should theoretically go away if everything is properly situated with the arena and makes things more accessible and, easier to attend games and all that kind of stuff. And I hope that they're right, but I think that the city of Tempe wouldn't be surprised if they have some concerns reviewing everything. I know that part of this is likely going to be relying heavily on taxpayer dollars to help finance the operation or building of this arena. And depending on what they are able to do, that might be a bit of a sticking point. So we'll have to see where this goes. But if they do have to temporarily relocate, you'd have to think that the NHL obviously would prefer to keep them in the area that would be considered your central part of the United States, because that's where they play in the Central Division starting this season. If they are able to work out a long-term arena solution, then it would only be temporary. So the NHL wouldn't really have to consider, realignment if they didn't have to. I'm sure that's something that the NHL does not want to do. And obviously at that point, you would think Houston would be a prime location. And even if they weren't getting a team on a regular permanent basis, it could very well be a great experiment for them to show that how well they can handle an NHL team, what the fan base could be like, ticket sales and all that. And it could be like an opening of a door for the NHL. If they do want to consider going through expansion, again, to me, that only happens if it makes the 34 teams to even things out even more. Maybe you put one in the East, one in the West. Possibly. I don't know. I really don't know if there's appetite for that or when or if that could happen. But obviously Houston makes sense. Kansas City has an arena that could probably work on a short-term basis too. I don't know if there's any other really locations in the state of Arizona they could find on a temporary basis. But to me, I know a lot of people talk about Quebec City. And as much as I personally would love to see Quebec City get a team, I'd love to see possibly the return of the Nordiques. I think even though it's a smaller market, it could be a very well-supported small market like we've seen in other smaller markets across the NHL. I just don't think that it's going to happen through this franchise. If it happens, and I stress if, it's most likely going to happen through relocation, not through expansion. And because of the American dollars, it's just too much. Like, look at what the NHL is asking now for expansion. I can pretty much guarantee if they do expand again, it's probably going to go up more. I mean, Seattle is paying $600 million US dollars. I mean, that's, depending on the day, equivalent to around like 900 or more million Canadian dollars. So for Canadian companies to pay, not far off from $1 billion for a new franchise, that's awfully tough to swallow. I mean, if we're talking back what teams were going for a number of years ago, and we're looking at 300 to 500 million, that was way more affordable. But at this point, it's if they can buy a franchise for that kind of fee to move them and take over one that's struggling in another market, definitely that's, to me, the only way that likely happens, and it would have to be an Eastern team that needed to move. So if the Western team needs to move, they're going to try to keep them in the West at all costs. That's why I think Houston is your number one market. Kansas City is a good fallback option. So if they had to move permanently, that's probably your most likely scenario. If they have to move temporarily, it's also your most likely scenarios if, and I stress if, they cannot find another arena to temporarily use in Arizona. And to be honest, even if they have a smaller arena in Arizona that they can use, and if, let's say, because I know there's some options that are, like 6,000 to 8,000, 9,000 fans, really, considering what they were pulling in where they were, I know it's not optimal, but it might be better than taking them way out of state, depending on how long things are going to take. But this is it's a good first step forward to trying to keep the Coyotes in Arizona, but it's a long ways from knowing how this is going to play out. This is a long process. I just wanted to explain everything here today and how it's all going to work. Like I said, we're likely looking at 6 months to a year before we really, truly know the outcome. And if the bid is successful, that's important. It's good, but it's only step one to gaining the right to negotiate to go further, which is going to be the more complicated step, which to me has more likelihood. Doesn't mean it's going to fail, but it just has a higher likelihood of running into some potential issues to make it actually happen. So let me know your thoughts on this bid for the Coyotes to keep the team in Arizona, build a new arena in Tempe. Do you think it'll work out? If not, even if they have to temporarily relocate, where are the most likely options you can see the Coyotes play for a year or two while this new arena is being built? Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.